ask yourself this. Why pay taxes if we can print money? If we pay taxes and print money, inflation goes up. Why do we keep paying taxes? Why do we keep giving money to billionaires that is the taxpayer money? Why do we keep paying taxes on things that we've already paid taxes on, and every year we pay more taxes on? Now, I know that may give you a headache. Today we're going to be discussing a little bit of that. And there was a good point that Elon brought up about taxes. The more we tax people, there's a plan for it. And it's not to use your money wisely. It actually may be for control. Today we're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to discuss what happened in Germany. Why are we discussing what happened in Germany, Colby? I mean, you're in America. Because exactly what Germany just did with raiding people over free speech, guess what? New York's looked like most likely going to be the mayor, just came out with the same style policy. Now, why is that important? Because that same mayor and that same trajectory that we're on, the same one that New York's on, main cities are on too. We're going to talk about how homeschooling just got a little pressure in New Jersey. We're going to talk about how governments are starting to look and implement different things just like what we're seeing in New York already. Isn't it kind of crazy that we're even on this trajectory? We have a conservative leader when it comes to the nation. But remember, our problem is not just nationwide. It's local government. It's state government. Because they're the ones that actually set policy more than the national government. Something to think about. We're also going to discuss crime. Now, why are we discussing crime? Because I want to tell you exactly what happened in my town and what just got proposed by a litigator, a lawyer, who said this is the best idea because of the problems we're having. Because really what we're seeing is crime is happening all over in these cities and these towns. And when you start hearing conservatives wanting more safety, they're actually wanting more control. Why are we wanting control? Today we're going to be discussing all that, from taxes to big states to big cities to regulation, and to ultimately, it may just be organized chaos, huh? Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down. That's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of today's video. Our goal is to live sustainable, gain wisdom, and see what's going on around us so we can do better. Today we're going to talk about just that, taxes. We're going to talk about the chaos and the situation that's happening in our cities, and then talk about it could all go and stem from one thing, which is control. Let's talk about this story dealing with London and Germany and how it kind of brings back to the fact of New York and then to our cities. And the reason I want to bring it up is because it's kind of like foreshadowing. You know how you see a storm coming, and you hear it on the radio that the hurricane's coming. Then all of a sudden you see the lightning and the thunder. You start seeing it closer and closer. You see that storm coming. And then you're like, I should prepare. I should make sure that I get under cover. I get an umbrella or I go indoors. Well, what if I just say, I see the storm coming, but I think I'm just going to go sit out there in the nicest clothes I have and just sit and just see if the storm goes around me. Well, it shows I got a 100% forecast of that storm hitting me from the hurricane, but I'm just going to hope for the best and hope it doesn't hit me. And all of a sudden the storm comes and, man, you get blasted. Trees are falling around you. Storms are going, all your nice clothes are destroyed. And ultimately, when the storm passes, then you say, why didn't I go inside? I mean, I thought it was going to miss me. I kind of feel like we're in the same boat. I think we see what's coming in our trajectory. We see the storms in the distance. And we keep saying, well, that's not us. We don't have to worry about that. Let's talk about London, and then let's talk about Germany, and then how it pertains to us. How in the world do we experience a change to where we saw the dangers of communism and Islam, and now we elect that to be our mayor of New York? Now, this is a picture of a parade that's happening in New York. I cannot show you the live video because it's actually from a source that would flag it. But I want to show you, this is a march, and this is in the streets of London now. They're wearing all black in representation of their faith now. London has basically been taken over. Their leader is now a Muslim, and they have changed their whole trajectory because of allowing mass migration to take place. We talked about this yesterday with New York. New York is 40% more foreign born, so you tell me how in the world do they support American ways if no one is assimilating to the culture? In Germany rated 170 homes over online post. Is this what true free speech looks like? Yesterday, police across Germany kicked doors down 170 coordinated raids targeting so-called hate speech. The trigger was because they built a law that said that other people of other minorities and other thought patterns would be protected. Well, when all of a sudden they became in the majority, when all of a sudden they became the ones in control, and then people started talking against them, therefore they were allowed to use this law to benefit them and ultimately arrest people for free speech. Now, why is that important today? And why is it important dealing with America? The new leader, or future leader of New York, listen to what he said. Mamdani says he pledges to weed out bigotry by implementing a 800% increase of funding on hate crime prevention programs. Now, that sounds good. That sounds like you're helping the minorities, just like Germany and London did. Listen to what he says. He said, come on, New York, we've got to start programs to where we benefit the people who need it the most, the minorities. He's talked about the LGBT activists and the alphabet that goes along with that, dealing with the T's and how he's going to fund the T children $65 million. And if they get bigotry brought against them and doctors won't allow them to get the surgeries they're needing, we will persecute the doctors. We have to build an increase of funding to help people of New York to fight bigotry. Actually, what he's doing is he's implementing the exact same style laws that happened in Germany and London that is now locking up people for free speech. You speak against him because he's a quote-unquote minority. You speak against this identification of LG alphabet. You speak against the DEI hires. You speak against some of these people, and therefore you are now committing a hate crime. It's not about free speech anymore. You are now committing the hate crime, and you are allowed to be locked up for it. This is exactly how it started in Germany and London and UK, and now they're fighting the problems, and now they're losing their countries. So it's like we're still seeing that storm I told you about. We see the storm. We see it coming. We see it coming. It's getting closer. All of a sudden, we see it actually implemented in our cities. We're wondering why in the world we haven't got under shelter or got an umbrella or try to protect ourselves from this storm. We're just going to sit out in it. That's exactly what's happening. Now, before we go to the next stories, we see how much government intervention in our life is probably not good. Well, that kind of goes the same way, and that's why the sponsor of today's video is important. What has government touched in your life that's actually benefited you? Especially if you're an older American, you've saw it for years. All of a sudden, if you're 65 and older, or you're fixing to be on Medicare, we realize the government doesn't do the very best job. We also realize that when we want help, we get all this mail, we get all this stuff sent to us. We hear all these insurance companies tell us what we should or shouldn't buy. We don't know if we're overprotected, underprotected. We don't know if we're overpaying. We don't really know. We're lost. Well, today's sponsor, Chapter, can help. So for you, if you are 65 and older, if you're on Medicare or you're fixing to be on Medicare, please reach out to Chapter. There's a number below. They're going to be an advocate for you. They work for you. Everybody tells you to buy this plan, this plan, this plan, this plan. This helps you the most. What we realize is when you go to Chapter, you call them, they can literally save you up to $1,100, if not more, just by making sure you have the right plans. They're checking all over the country for you. Now, if you have the best plan, great. They'll even let you know that you've got the best plan. See, here's the benefit. You call them. You spend 20, 30 minutes on the phone. Not only are you saving hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars, it's free. It costs you absolutely nothing. So this is why I love Chapter. This is why I love sponsors like this, because what we realize is government doesn't have all the answers. And if we have an advocate that's working for us to help us be better and save our own money, it's even better. Check out Chapter today. Call the number below. There's also a link in the description. That's who's sponsoring this video, because we want to make sure that you're getting something that benefits you. It's free. It literally costs you nothing. call them today and see if it can help you. If you're 65 and older, if you're on Medicare, if you're fixing to be on Medicare, call them and I promise you it will benefit you. Because what we just realized is government doesn't have all the answers. Check with Chapter today. Let's go to New Jersey. Something that is happening again. So we talked about free speech. We talked about how you don't have that right. Listen to this. In New Jersey, we have been homeschooling our son for 3 years. However, now in New Jersey, one of the most relaxed states on enforcing any restriction on homeschoolers, now just introduced bills to where they restrict freedoms of homeschooling parents. It will now consider wellness checkups for children, and also it allows for the government to step in and actually interrogate your child to see if they're getting what they need, because the public school system and government knows best. So now they will be able to not only know what you are teaching your children, it will help them understand that if you're teaching your children wrong things, what did we talk about in New York and now London, Germany? Let's go back. If you're now teaching your children things that are not meeting the requirements of the government can step in and make sure that you are teaching the things you're supposed to, or make sure your kid is now going to some kind of school. Okay, so the free speech is out. Now what about the rights of parents? Well, that's going to be out, because if you're teaching them things that we think and deemed wrong, then that's not freedom anymore. We have the right as the government to overstep that. Now that's crazy, isn't it? So why do we think the government actually can do better for us and they know more than us? Why do we believe that our leaders that are supposed to work for you, remember, you elect these people to work for you. Somehow we've got it wrong to where we elect these people and then all of a sudden they they order us to do what they want. We're like in some kind of mind control seminar, and that we can't control and actually get these people out of office. Well, the truth is we are so dumbfounded in our world to where we elect these people and we allow them just to keep on setting new policies. And instead of just getting them out of office, we just allow them to win. We allow them to keep on setting policy. I mean, literally, Mamdani is saying what he's going to do. He is literally going to use this office to get rid of police, 800% increase in funding for hate crime things, and all that deals with is your speech. You cannot speak against what he is wanting to do. If you do, he will deem it hate, and he can lock you up for it. Now that leads me to other stories. We see the cities, we see the problems, we see the fact that, I mean, honestly, we're spending our money, we're spending our tax dollars to basically cause us to have really more problems. I want you to listen to these quotes. And I thought these quotes were really good. The biggest scam in life is paying taxes on money you make, then paying taxes on the money you spend, then paying taxes on the things you own that you already paid taxes on with money that's already been taxed, to then turn around and be taxed some more. Why do you think we're overtaxed? Why do you think we're taxed so much when we can print the money? Why do you think that we still need government to spend money that we have and we realize we're in deficit spending? Why do they need our little measly money? Because it's part of control. When you're paying taxes, do you feel like you're actually getting something for your taxes? Now I know that's kind of a stupid question, kind of rhetorical, because to be honest with you, most of us say we pay taxes and we really don't see any benefit. Well, we personally don't. I want you to listen to this statement that I think nails exactly why we pay taxes and why we see the cities going to chaos. Let's go through this list. It says, this is from Wide Awake Media. It says, it's not chaos, it's planned. Import migrants to destroy a culture. Jail citizens for criticism. Turn police against citizens. Now those three things just took place, okay? We just talked about that. With London, we talked about that with Germany. We see that happening in New York. We see that happening in New Jersey now. We see that happening in bigger cities that have left leftist ideology. Now here's where it gets a little scary, because you see this on both sides of the aisle. Now let's invoke digital ID and surveillance, because we need safety and concern. Now the reason I bring up the tax situation, the reason I bring up these other states, because I live in a very extremely conservative area. We've had a lot of problems with like these kid gangs, like these 13, 14, 15-year-old gangs in our city. And you're like, to be honest with you, they can't do anything about them. They can't bust their parents for them. They can't police them enough. They cannot control the situation. So now they've put the curfew in. So let's go back to that step that we just talked about. Turn police against the citizens, invoke digital ID and surveillance. what we've realized is we're getting mad at the police for not taking care of the situation. So what the police came in and says, we're going to go ahead with the city and put a curfew in. Now that curfew is one thing. Here's what a lawyer said in my area I met with yesterday. I was part of this this community action group that came in together trying to proactively help our community. And a lawyer brought up and said, why don't we use surveillance? Why don't we put out cameras and proactively watch, not reactively? So we have cameras like most cities that have on stop signs on red lights, and so you can reactively use that, meaning if someone is broken a crime, they can go back to that traffic cam and say, okay, did they go through this area? What this lawyer says is, why don't we proactively do it? Why don't we have someone monitoring like they would a parking lot or like they would a private business, where at any point in time we could just surveil that area. If we see this car go through this area 1 or 2 times a day or 3 or 4 times a day, we can proactively go to that car and say, why are you in this area? Mass surveillance. Here's the thing. You know what was said yesterday? They said, well, you are paying taxes. The elected official said, you are paying taxes. I mean, that makes sense. I guess we need to utilize your taxes wisely. And then another alderman stood up and said, well, I don't really know if that's even legal. I mean, you're wanting mass surveillance, and to be honest with you, we still don't have that tax burden for that. I mean, we can actually probably get more into the budget and charge more to the consumers and probably find a way to pay for that. And we can do that. So really what happened was the guy was saying we need more surveillance because we want more safety. So therefore he's giving away freedoms to try to proactively bust these kids that were causing problems, that's already curfewed, that we've already paid people to protect. And then all of a sudden now we are now in agreement in the city that we should pay more taxes to have this surveillance. But at the same time, this tax bill that we already have gotten, we already have failing infrastructure, we have failing grid, we already have a failing bridges, we already have streets closed down because they're doing more work to those streets because they're falling to pieces. We have buildings that are struggling in the city. Okay, why do I bring that up? And why do I bring up my personal story? Because I imagine your city is having the same problem, isn't it? They have failing infrastructure. They want to charge you more taxes. I mean, they really have the same problem. Most cities are having the same problem with crime because they cannot control it. And they're wanting to tax you more for more surveillance or more help to cover the problem of crime. Import migrants destroy the culture. We've seen that in cities. Jail citizens for criticism. We talked about that with Germany, London. The storm is coming. We see it happening in New York and New Jersey now. Turn police against the citizens. All of a sudden, we see policing has to take a new step because of the crime that's happening. Invoke digital ID and surveillance. We see, even in my local town, in the conservative areas, they want to be protective, so they want more massive surveillance. They want more ways of protection. And then on top of that, because we can't afford it, we need more taxes. Well, actually, we have the tax bases, but we're wasting our money, we're spending our money, and so therefore we believe that if we spend more money on this, we can get more surveillance, less freedom, less money, but we're protected. And my little city even thought it was a good idea. Because all that stuff is not working, what did San Francisco do and Chicago do and New York put in over the last few months? They've done more massive surveillance and drone capabilities. Getting, thermal imaging in certain areas, trying to figure out what's going on. See if they can bust people that's breaking the law. The next point says, eliminating private property and understanding the rights of private property. Now, if we're talking about mass surveillance, and now we can't seem to do it with our cameras, now we're looking at using drones for that and thermal imaging. Now we're looking at seeing if, to keep you safe, we're going to have to take freedoms from you to ultimately keep you safe. So now, in the name of safety, we need to pay more taxes. We need to have more surveillance. We need to be able to utilize forms of surveillance that actually take away from your privacy, your private property, because now they can use thermal imaging to look over and cascade certain areas to see if there's danger there. We also realize that we, as conservatives, are wanting mass surveillance and digital ID and more of a footprint of the government because we believe that keeps us safe. So we're willing to give up more freedoms for it. Let's go back to the point of taxation. Every one of these situations, New York, let's go back to it for a second. You know what he said? You know how he's going to have an 800% increase in funding for hate crimes? You know how Chicago is going to have more funding for reparations with black businesses and taking care of the situations that's going on in Chicago. You know how they're going to have those drone surveillance? You know how they're going to pay for that? They've got to tax you more. And they said, well, sometimes federal government can't do that, so state government's going to do that. Sometimes state governments need other forms, so we're going to use a property tax to do that. Property tax is already costing so much, and a lot of Americans feel like they're having to pay and buy their land each and every year. I want you to listen to what Elon Musk said. Imagine convincing yourself that the more you pay, the more money you give the government, the more surveillance that's on you, the more you allow them to be in your life is actually benefiting you. He said, what have we learned in the last 100 years of government being more intertwined in our life? Less freedom, costs more. People are actually building basically these NGOs that are funding everything else but things that help American. And what we're realizing is none of it actually has benefited us. You know, I was thinking the other day, I pay property tax. I guess I get mad because I hate paying property tax. It's one of the worst things. I'm paying property tax. I get no benefit from my city or my county. Literally. They just came out and said that we don't have enough police, and that's why we're having the crime problems in our city. So when people say, well, you're getting fire protection and police protection, am I really? There's no fire hydrant close to me. So if a fire breaks out, they said they'd have to use the volunteer firemen in these areas and pump it out of my own lake that I have to put a hydrant on. And on top of that, they just said they're short with police and sheriff because nobody's wanting to be up enforcement anymore. And so therefore, you know, is our taxpayer dollars going to that? Well, now they're needing to surveil you more. So instead of using the funds they're already taking from us, they need to tax us more. What I realized is what Wide Awake Media just said. It's not chaos. It's not accidental that this has happened. It's planned. We realize if we import more people and we don't assimilate the culture and we don't have education to a point where it's actually teaching our children, we have more people destroying our culture because they see no value in it. We realize that if we jail citizens for criticism, then we can control the speech against us in opposition. Just what's happening in New York, New Jersey, and other places like it, in these liberal areas. We realize that if we make police get a little bit stronger and they have more surveillance opportunities, because there's not enough police, so we need them to actually be able to look at your property and actually have different forms of actionary and proactive surveillance, then hopefully we can keep you safe. Really what we're doing is we're giving our rights away and our freedoms away. Then we realize if we do that, then we're not actually getting the benefits of private property. And then we realize we have to pay for it. So the taxes that we're already paying is not enough. So we have to overtax you to make sure that we fund all these things. What we realized is it's not chaos. It may be planned control. Elon said it best. He said, for the last 100 years, we've put more and more money into the Fed. We've put more and more money into the government intervening in our life. United States Postal Service. Social Security, Medicare, like we talked about. We see the fact that we pay more and more taxes to ultimately give it to other countries across the world. We see that we're paying more and more taxes to give. I mean, there's a new story. Listen to this. Bill Gates is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. But guess what? His new foundation called Gavi Charity, the U.S. taxpayers just funded it $8 billion since 2001. So for a man that's worth over $100 billion, we've given taxpayer dollars of $8 billion to him, to some foundation that no one knows anything about. Soros the same way. These NGOs the same way. So what Elon said, why do we keep giving money to our government? Well, it may have nothing to do with paying taxes and they need it. Well, we realize they don't need it. They have plenty of money. The thing is this. If they can make you pay taxes, and they can make you believe that, you know, the more money you give them, the more safety you have. And if they can believe that this is just a 6-cycle carousel, that you just believe all this jargon, then ultimately this chaos is a planned control and really a coup on your freedom. My town is a prime example of that. We have problems in the town. They can't solve it. They can't control it, so then we curfew. They can't control it. There's not enough police, so we need more funding. They can't control it, so now we're bringing in more proactive camera systems for the city. Now that doesn't affect me because I don't live in the city per se, but what I'm saying is you're actually saying I'm going to advocate for more surveillance. They also said they're looking at ways to do more surveillance. So let's look at what cities are doing with this thermal imaging drone, so it's taken away from your private property. And then on top of that, because we can't afford all this, we've got to get more taxes from you. So therefore they're taking more of your money. For what? To give to people like Bill Gates, George Soros, and other NGOs, and even other countries. Did you know this? We're still giving Taliban $40 to $80 million a week. Did you know that? The Republicans are still funding the Taliban weekly. Why wouldn't you think they'd stop that? If we're so in dire straits of having money and needing money, why in the world do you think that's happening? Why do you think we're still not defunding Planned Parenthood? We're still giving tons of money to Planned Parenthood. Why do you think we're still giving all this frivolous spending, even in the big beautiful bill? So do they really need your tax basis if they're still wasting all the money that they're wasting? It's not about needing your tax dollars. It's about control. The less money you have, the more dire straits you're in, the more you need the government. It's not a good thing. Guys, let me know your thoughts on today's video. I know it was more of a rambling rant, but it just makes me mad. I go to this meeting and realize that either we need more surveillance, more tax, even in local conservative towns. And then I look at seeing what New York is happening. It's the storm. It's coming. We see it. Now it's here, and we've done nothing to protect ourselves. And now we see we need more taxation to more control to make sure that we cover your hate crimes on the people that you dealing with your free speech. And we want to lock you up for it. If you're not teaching your kids, the government knows the answer, so the government's going to step in and make sure your child is getting better education than what you're doing at this homeschool thing. It's happening right before your eyes. Chaos brings control. Remember that. When you think that your government is there to help you, sometimes you just got to step back and say, you know what? What I've realized is that the more chaos that we have in our cities, towns, states, nation, the more control we give our government. The more money we pay. So the more money we pay, the more surveillance we have, the more control we give to our government in the name of safety. Really all we've become is a dystopian movie where we've lost all our freedoms. And we look back one day and say, we're sitting in the storm that we should have saw coming, and we did nothing about it. Pay attention not to your national elections. Pay attention to your states. Pay attention to your local elections. Pay attention to your taxes. And when they say they need more of your tax basis, find out why. Because to be honest with you, they don't. They just need to quit spending the money that they're already taking from you. And again, we can keep printing money. It seems amazing that our Fed is supposed to be there to help us. And ultimately what we've done is see a Fed that's actually controlled our money more, put us more in debt, and realize they're actually not benefiting us whatsoever. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. God bless. Be free with me.